it makes sense that you create an SPV that will acquire the assets and the seller will acquire an interest in that SPV.
My question is around structure. Um, I know we're always supposed to do asset sales, never do stock deals.
No, that's not true.
However,
It's generally asset sales are preferred, but there are times when it makes sense to do stock. So
yes. So here's the case where my question lies. If the seller is going to roll some of their equity, at what point does it make sense to continue with the existing structure versus create a new structure and roll their equity into the new structure? And is there when their equity gets over a certain amount,
I think
other limitations notwithstanding?
yeah, I think it's kind of an easy answer, which is if you're buying assets and the seller is going to stay in the mix, it makes sense that you create an SPV that will acquire the assets and the seller will acquire an interest in that SPV. Because you are transferring the assets from the old entity to a new, and the seller is going to have the seller's interest be in the new entity. The old one will have nothing left in it. So that's kind of an easy answer to that question. If you are acquiring equity in the existing company, and that's going to stay around, even though you might be acquiring that through an SPV, and the operating entity will be the company that already exists, then it would make sense that the seller would just retain their equity, however large or small it was in that company, and then you would be acquiring the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I guess in the case of, say, doing an earn in where you're sort of starting at, zero or close to,
Mhm.
and you're going to earn in that equity,
Yep.
then obviously you'd do the existing one. I guess the question is like, would you at some point in the future move those assets to a new SPV?
Probably not as long as you're earning in and having a minority interest. If you were going to go to majority at the time that that was going to happen, you could you could structure it so that it was a purchase of the remain, of the assets of the company, which would include your pro rata percentage of that.
Gotcha.
But otherwise, yeah, not really any reason to.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.